on live. We are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. How you all doing? We have a lot of updates on Erik Ten Hag, Manchester United, the players. Is there a severe issue bubbling? I believe so. More player leaks have come out as well, which I am absolutely not happy about. My name is Erik. I'm your host of the show today, and we will be moving forward through the news. So one of the things that we need to pick up on one of the things that we need to pick up on, I apologize, is that this is what has come out of Manchester United early in the hours of the morning, and this to me is absolutely telling. This to me is one of the biggest I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this. This is just absolutely just disgusting in my opinion. But why this is coming out now, and why this was held on to, and why this was never put out at the time and is coming out now, is a disgrace to me. But let's get into it. So Andy Mitten, who is well respected around Manchester United and as a journalist in general, very credible guy. Andy Mitten has said on Manchester United players having issues with Erik Ten Hag's playing style, saying that an hour after the FA Cup final win, I spoke to half a dozen of United players outside the dressing room and asked them about the manager. The words weren't being recorded. Not one of them said the manager should absolutely be sacked, and not one of them said he should absolutely stay. Yet, there were clear issues between players and manager about his style. One of them said, you cannot have teams in the relegation zone like Sheffield United and Burnley coming to Old Trafford and carving us open. So, I mean, I think it's just it's a disgraceful statement. And one of the players who said this, that you cannot have teams in the relegation zone like Sheffield United and Burnley coming to Old Trafford and carving us open. I mean, so, you know, it's evident that there are still players and part of that squad that have been part of United for quite some time. And they still are telling things to journalists that they probably shouldn't be saying and they shouldn't be talking about. And that leads over from what happened yesterday and what happened even further today, because there was more leaks that came out today. And you know, and we're in a very negative situation right now because there hasn't been leaks like this in quite some time. It seemed like the problem was dealt with. But I mean, I had a feeling the other day, and I said it, and I said something went wrong. Something seems like there was a disconnect, or something went wrong from that FA Cup win and afterwards, where it seems like he's totally lost a good... Listen, I don't think he's lost all the players, but I think he's lost a good amount of the players. And I think there's a lot of players in there that either don't want him, or for personal reasons, or they just don't think he's good enough, or they're frustrated with the tactics, or they're frustrated with their playing time. I think he's alienated quite a lot of people, but a lot of the players. But you know, you can't have this. You can't have this. You can't have this in the show. You can't have this in the not in the show. You can't have this at the club. You can't have this. You know. So, I mean, this is just ridiculous, in my opinion. Well, you know, and why? And I would just question the journalist as to why was this information held on to? Why was this information not put out? You know, this is months later. The FA Cup final was in May. Why is this coming out now? Why was this not reported when they made those comments to you? Why are you giving it out now? You know, And there's probably different reasons for that, but the agenda might be real in that aspect. But yeah, I mean, I don't really understand it. We're gonna get onto the other topics that are a little bit more prevalent, but a quick tidbit just so you know where we are. And Lions is in here. Lions, good to see you, buddy. Let me just move this real quick because it's pissing me off. Just a quick little cut into what we were talking about, and then we're going to go back into the whole manager thing. But apparently Manchester United face fresh profit and sustainability rules, PSR, challenges if they go another year without playing in the Champions League. So again, we've mentioned this before. Not only is it just it's just a value standards that Manchester United should be in the Champions League, but it's also going to have impact financially, and it may cause us to get penalized or suffer penalties from the PSR, which is not good. So we need to figure out how we're gonna make it the top four, or just Champions League in general, because there's a lot of bad outcomes. I mean, 2 years in a row out of 2 years in a row not in the Champions League is detrimental to Manchester United financially, reputation wise, being able to pull in certain players and stuff like that. So Lions is saying, seems like we need the Mario brothers as our new number one, and two, they'll fix them bloody leaks. Well, I mean, you can fix the leaks. I think Stephanie yesterday and a couple other people pointed out yesterday that very good points is that you have to go to Andy Mitten. And you need, if you are the club, if you are Ineos, if you are Sir Jim Ratcliffe, you have to go to Andy Mitten, and you need to force them in one way or another, whatever you threaten them with. You need them to reveal who said that, and you need to go to Chris Wheeler, because he had more things to put out today. You have to go to Chris Wheeler, and you got to force him to tell you who's doing it. And whether you do something about it right now or not, you at least need to know about it. You at least need to be aware of who it is and who is doing these things. So there is a way that we could do that. I think the players take over the club. The manager should took over, not the players. It's been a problem though. It's been a problem. Like every single manager has dealt with this. We haven't figured it out, and if we don't figure it out, they would never tell who the source is. Well, maybe not Lions, but maybe, it depends what you hold over them. You know what I mean? If you cut all access off to them, because if they do work with the club, right? If you kind of, tell them, you're no longer going to get fed certain exclusives or anything like that actually come from the club. If you threaten to cut them off with all access, maybe they will. And maybe they'll give proof. I'm not sure exactly what United have that they could leverage against the journalists, and maybe they don't have enough to leverage anything, but if they do, they should absolutely be doing it, because you have to create a system where you do, a fake leak or something like that, to see and trace it back to whoever it is. Richard is in here. Richard, good to see you. So let's get back into more of the news that came out today. So Ruud interim again, as we spoke about it yesterday. Manchester United would consider putting Ruud van Nistelrooy in interim charge if they decide to sack Erik Ten Hag. This is now coming from Alex Crook and TalkSport, but that was obviously the news from yesterday as well. But this came out today from them. And then a follow-up that kind of goes with that is, apparently at a meeting with Manchester United bosses a few weeks ago, Ruud van Nistelrooy is said to have left a positive impression, while Erik Ten Hag acted more reserved. The bosses were quite impressed. So apparently, Ruud van Nistelrooy has made a good impression on the Manchester United bosses, and they would be okay with him being the interim. They just don't think that he has the experience I mean, as of right now, to be the full-time Manchester United manager. Now, there is also always the possibility that they can do the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer route, which I hope they don't, because as much as I would, if Ten Hag does go, as much as I would back Ruud van Nistelrooy, and I wouldn't, completely hate it. I still don't think he has the experience to do the job. I think the job is too big for him. Just like, we've had serial winner managers here, and the job was too big for them because the problems are too large at this club. And I don't want to do that to Ruud. I don't want Ruud to be in a position where, he's going to get swallowed up and absolutely just destroyed and fail. He doesn't really deserve it. He's had one year at in the Dutch league. He was doing okay. He left that position. He could have stayed there. He left that to come with us because he loves the club, and we wanted to help the club. And I don't think that we should do anything to, we're not in a position for him to actually take over. But if he's the interim manager and he does well for 3, 4, 5 months, I mean, he's gonna win over some more fans. More people are going to be asking for him to be the full-time manager like they did with Solskjaer. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be against it because of what happened with Solskjaer. Right now, there's actually quite a lot of people that are Ten Hag out and don't want Ruud van Nistelrooy as the full-time manager. I guess they're not completely against him being interim, but they don't want him to become the next manager after Erik Ten Hag, because they also don't think that he is good enough. So they don't think Erik Ten Hag is good enough, but they also don't think Ruud van Nistelrooy is good enough. And I actually kind of agree with the fact that I don't believe that Roy would be able to do the job, because I just think he's highly inexperienced. Now he might, he might do like a Xabi Alonso or something. I just don't think it's highly likely, but yeah. Jadon Sancho for the manager. Grace, our wonderful moderator, always coming in with the sarcasm and the and the jokes. Yeah, I mean, might as well at this point, Grace. Might as well. We might as well cancel whatever deal we have with Chelsea. Go get Jadon Sancho. And just make him play a manager, and Jadon will line himself up with another 9 Jadons, clones of himself, and they'll just all play. And Marcus will be there as well, and that's about it. How is Carrick doing at Middlesbrough? It's a good question. Is he a possibility? I don't think he's a possibility right now, and solely for the fact of I think he doesn't want it. I think Michael Carrick at this moment in time wouldn't take the job. I don't. Michael Carrick seems like the most level-headed person out there that I know. In terms of, McKenna would take it if he was offered it, but he was never really offered it. And there's a couple other people that would take it immediately. I mean, Solskjaer would take it again, and I think that's mental, but he would take it again if he was offered it. Michael Carrick, it seems like the only level-headed and smart one that, he knows he's not ready for it. He wants more experience for himself. He wants to learn more things. He knows the enormity of that job. He knows the pressure of the job, especially with today's time and stuff like that. So he doesn't want it right now. I think one day he will want it, and I think one day he might take it. But right now, I don't think he's being considered, and I don't think he's being talked about because he doesn't actually want it, because he just knows that it's too soon for him. Like Richard is saying, it is too soon for him. There's all types of managers have come here. We've had serial winner managers come here and absolutely fail. Can't get a grip on the players. A younger, less experienced manager coming to take over this job full time. Listen, I don't think it would work because of the problems we have with the players, but maybe because they are younger, right? And maybe a younger person, maybe. Because maybe they can relate more to the players. I mean, you kind of look at Vincent Kompany right now, and I know, he had his things at Burnley. Burnley got relegated, but Burnley is Burnley at the end of the day. At Bayern Munich, he started off very well. His football and what he's implemented at Bayern fit very well, and they're playing very, very good football. Vincent Kompany is considered a much younger manager than a lot of the other managers. Maybe the fact that they're younger, they can connect with the players on a much better basis. Maybe they understand these players, this generation of players, because they're very close to each other, and maybe like the older heads, there is a real disconnect unless you are like Carlo Ancelotti or Pep Guardiola. Like, you have to be like actually proven for you to get respect from those players. Otherwise, if there's holes in your CV or there's questions about you, I at some point, if things don't go well, they're gonna turn your back on you and stab you in the back. So, maybe that's a possibility as well. Not to, because I don't want to shit on young and inexperienced managers. Maybe they can get through to players a lot better because maybe they understand this generation. Maybe they understand how to communicate and kind of how to get through to them a little bit more. Maybe they don't. Maybe they would just fail like everybody else. I don't want rude to be fair, says Lions. Grace is saying, bring in someone that don't have a connection to this club or the players. What about Keno? Nah, Keno won't take it. Keno knows better. Too soon for Michael. Just bring back Benny. Well, Benny is speaking today, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. I hear Nigel Farage is looking for a new job. I mean, he might be better than Gareth Southgate for sure. Lions saying absolutely not, Grace. Ray saying give some more time. We have half the team is new, need time. I mean, yeah, but they maybe are new, Ray. But unfortunately in this game, and I think it's quite evident that time is not always on your side, and you don't always get the time. You need the results. You want time, you need results. So for Erik Ten Hag, he's got to figure out how you get the results, how you get these players to get the results. So I don't know. Let's see what comes up in the Porto game. But let's continue on because we got quite a lot to talk about, and I don't want the show to go on for too long. So, senior Manchester United sources insist the board are calm about Erik Ten Hag's situation, but the expectation within the dressing room is that a managerial change will be made unless results improve quickly. This is coming from Alex Crook and Talk Sports. So yet again, for whatever reason, they know the expectation inside of the dressing room. Why? Why do they know what the players have, what kind of expectation they have? Why do they know what kind of feelings they have? Maybe the media is making up bullshit. Maybe players are leaking shit. We don't know what's going on right now, but it's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. In that aspect, I don't like these stories floating around, and the only thing that's going to help me be a little bit more calm. Now, I do agree with the first sentence where it says Manchester United sources insist that the board are calm about Erik Ten Hag's situation. Well, who are these sources in Manchester United? We need to know who those fucking people are. These things need to stop be leaking out. I don't know if you could sue them for libel if that's not true, if they're just making shit up and they're saying, Manchester United sources. But apparently they have sources that know both what the board is feeling about Erik Ten Hag, but then also know about what the dressing room is feeling at the same time. So, I'm not 100% sure about that, but I do think at least at one part, I do think that I don't want to say the board, but Ineos, I think Ineos are a little bit more calm about the situation than we are right now as fans, because we're fans. We're allowed to get as upset as we want. You know what I mean? We can rant, rave, be angry, happy, sad, cry, laugh, whatever. We're allowed to do that shit, right? But I think they are more calm than us, because they're kind of sitting there. They have their idea of what they want to do and where they're trying to go, and they already know, where I guess they got to cut the line. They, if they were worried, I think they would have sacked him already. They wouldn't have gave him the 2 matches. So I think they're I think they're a little bit more calm than we are. Obviously, like, they are, a little bit worried, but I don't think they're like on the same level as us. I don't think they're hitting the fucking panic button, going crazy like shit. What are we gonna do? I think they're a little bit more relaxed. I want Liz Truss. No politics. Even Bob the Builder can't fix this. The media is a disgrace. They know nothing. Just hate Erik Ten Hag. We are real ownership, not stress, says Lucky Singh. Gray's saying, I would like to know what Erik Ten Hag and Ineos talk about in the meetings. I think we all would, Grace. I think we all would. I think it would... I mean, it would be a very interesting if you could just be a fly on the wall in that moment and just listen to the conversations. I think it would be a very interesting thing to listen into. And it would be good because you would actually get an understanding of what the hell is actually going on in the full dynamic between them, Ten Hag, the players, issues that we're not allowed to be adhered to, and only what gets leaked, or stuff like that. So that would be... Sadiq is here saying, hi, I'm still Erik Ten Hag in, and we have to give him more time. And I'm not against that, Sadiq, but I think that his time is really running out. I think I said this yesterday, and I said this before, Sadiq. I said that, if Erik Ten Hag can't get the results in the next two matches, I think that puts Manchester United in a position that no matter how much time you want to give Erik Ten Hag, no manager can keep his job if you end up in the position that you're going to be. If we don't beat Porto on Thursday, we will have 1 point in two matches in the Europa League, which will be unacceptable for Manchester United, and that's, 2 matches out of the 8 matches, so we'll have 6 matches left, which you can still salvage it. But when you take 1 point out of 2 matches, and you couple that with the fact that Manchester United are in 13th place in the Premier League, and if we don't beat Villa and move up the table, and we might end up going to 14th, 15th, or 16th, I think the club will be put in a position that they are forced into sacking him, as much as they might not even want to do it themselves. So, it might be a big, he might be gone in a week. And I certainly feel like it's leaning a lot more towards that side. But I would like the... New staff, new head recruitment team. I think this whole next 2 matches is just make believe. I mean, why wait, right? Because he can. Because I don't think they actually. That's the thing, Lions. I don't think they actually want to sack him. And actually, we have an update about that as to why. So, which is right here. So let's talk about it. The club have wanted to give Ten Hag, at the very least, a full season under this new Ineos-powered setup to see if there will be improvement. However, dismal performance like Tottenham becomes the norm. It will be incredibly hard for them to stick to that approach, and that's coming from Sky. And I think that is what the actual story is. Lions. I think that's what it is. I understand that it's worded the next 2 matches, but if you look at the next 2 matches, it has certain implications, like we talked about yesterday, and like we were just talking about now. Like, if he loses both those matches, you're in a really bad start and spot for the Europa League already, and you're in a very bad spot in the Premier League. And I think those 2 things combined, you're looking at all fronts for Manchester United, and you're saying no manager in any top club, in a club that's looking to succeed, would keep a manager that is in 14th, 15th, or 16th place, so they're closer to relegation than they are to the top 4. And they got 1 point out of 6 in their first 2 matches in Europa League. When you're saying that the club is meant to go and be in the Champions League, so I think that's really the reason of these 2 matches. Because while it's not 100% over, because if he does win Porto, or maybe he gets a draw, right? Because I think if he draws, it's still going to be negative, but I don't think it'll get him sacked. But I think, you go to Villa, if you win, we move up a couple places in the league, they might continue. They might be able to continue on with him, because then that position is a little bit better than being in 16th and 1 point or whatever in the Europa League. So, yeah, that's why I think he's actually. I don't know how to compare. He's basically just like sitting on it. There's a line, and he's sitting literally on top of the line right now. It's like Humpty Dumpty on a wall, right? And if Humpty Dumpty moves the wrong way, he's gonna have a big fall. If Humpty Dumpty pays attention and does what he's supposed to do and sits on the wall correctly, he ain't gonna fall. So I think he's kind of just sitting on that wall right now. And if if it doesn't go his way, he's falling off the wall, and he's gonna be hurt. He's gonna be done. Pretty much. I lost my spot. Maybe I'm wrong. About Porto then. Because you said wait, I missed a whole bunch of the chat. Jesus, what's going on here? Suspend time first team player, play the reserves. If we get relegated, so be it. That's Mike McDougal is saying. Suspend first team player, play the reserves. If we get relegated, so be it. The bad crap player out. You know what, Mike McDougal, though? I don't even think we would get relegated. Because there's certain players that, continue to play that they might have all the ability, or they might have better ability, but they're not showing us the fight. I wouldn't play the entire youth team, but I would certainly, move maybe like a bench player, move them into the starting lineup, and then bring up a youth player as the backup. If that's what had to be needed, though, yeah, for sure. But I don't, if we did that, the youth players, they always play without fear. They're hungry to prove something. They want to do good. You know what I mean? That's why they always come into the team. Like, look at Kobe Mainu, look at Garnacho, even Amos in the preseason. Like, when these players like come and they get a chance, like, they're super hungry. They want to prove themselves and other people, and they want to actually like win, because they're fighting for something. There's actually something worth fighting for. These other guys, they get paid a shit ton of money already. They're always picked in the starting 11. What are they fighting for? Where's the hunger? Where's the drive for them to succeed? They're already good. They're on easy mode. I get picked every week. I get paid this money regardless of how I perform. I'm making a shit ton of money. And I'll still be here because I'm on a 4-year contract or whatever, and they ain't gonna get rid of me. They can't get rid of me. And you don't see that from the youth players, because they're not in that position. Grace saying, I would like to be an angel on Eric's shoulder, whispering, you can do it when you be NQ it. I love that one, Grace. That's actually very, very good. That's very, very good. Well, he could definitely use you, Grace. He could definitely use an angel on his shoulder right now. I think he needs it. Lucky Singh saying, I'm not stressed. New ownership. We know what we doing. Sadiq is a little bit just putting out 3 dots. I don't know. Lines is saying Porto is the real game. If we lose that one, I think it will be done. I mean, could be. Maybe I'm wrong about Porto then. I mean, it could be Lions, but I don't think, I think if he loses to Porto, I think the turnaround, I mean, there is Rude. So they could just give Rude, the interim for Aston Villa. So not really the turnaround for the game, but, I just think both of those, because I think they really don't want to sack him. I think that was the agreement. And part of the discussions that they made is that they wanted to give him this 1 year, this one season. And I don't think, and I think a lot of us didn't think that we would actually already be in this position 6 matches into the season. And looking the way we are and playing the way we are, we expected that we were going to start stronger than last season, and that we should be, a little bit more hungry with a little bit more fight than we did last season. And, the injuries were a big problem, and it hasn't been the case. So, Mr. Labman. A lot of new people in here getting involved, which I'm happy about. So welcome all of you and continue to, just get involved in the chat. Mr. Labman saying the players have to play football as if their lives depend on it, like Liverpool, City, and other clubs. And I absolutely agree with you. And there's an issue at Manchester United that we have been dealing with for quite some time, Mr. Labman, that why our players are the ones that don't play like they care about the club, it's very selfish. Like when I watch these other teams, they leave everything on the pitch for that club. They want to do the fans proud, and then it's like you go watch us and it's like they could care fucking less. And I don't understand why we have this culture. I think I understand partly because of the old regime, but I think Ineos have to wake up and kind of smell the coffee a little bit that, that has been a big issue at Manchester United for quite a long time. And it's obviously still lingering around. And no matter who the players are, you have to remove them. Like, it could very well be a Rashford or a Bruno or, somebody else. I don't know who it is. But if it is, forget the contracts you gave them. Forget the money you gave them. You have to get them out of the club. If it's them, whoever it is, you got to get them out. And we have to clean that up, that aspect. So, Sky disgrace. Scar disgrace. They're talking about the potential candidates for the job. They do realize Erik Ten Hag is still the manager, but they don't care, Grace. They don't care, Grace. They don't care. They're jumping in along with the rest of us. A lot of people think that it's pretty much over because they don't think that he's going to win the next two matches. I think that's, I think it's not that per se, Grace. I think it's more of the manner in which they do it. It's like they're excited by it. They're happy about it. They also sometimes say inaccurate shit, and they get people to say inaccurate stuff, and they pull up certain stats. Like, it's stuff like that, because I think you could speculate about it because it is looking very inaccurate, but it's kind of the way they're going about it. Lucky Singh saying, we making clear Erik Ten Hag, he's starting new players for 2 games or draw. Well, Erik Ten Hag, I believe, does have to start and make changes. I think for the Porto game, I would play Casemiro, Ugarte, and Mount or Mainu. I don't know if Mainu is out. I haven't seen an update on Kobe. He did go down the tunnel. So I don't know if he's fit or not. I don't know if he can actually, play. I don't know, maybe he can't start or something. We don't want to risk, a really bad injury. But I haven't really seen an update on that, so I don't know if he's okay. Mount said apparently he had just a scratch, so, he should be available. But I think, I would go Casemiro, Ugarte, and either Maino. I wouldn't play Bruno, and I wouldn't play Rashford as number one right now. Those two are the biggest, the two biggest letdowns in the team right now. Out of all the players, I know Delo had a very bad game, but that's it's one game, and the rest of the team was very bad as well. I know De Ligt struggled as well, but I expect De Ligt to bounce back. I think Leach was off it as well, but I expect Leach to bounce back as well. Those are not players that do this on a consistent basis. They usually have been pretty solid for us, and Maz as well has been excellent up until the Tottenham match. So Sadiq Rahman saying, how many players have we replaced already? Van Gaal, Jose, Ali, Ralph, Erik. The saga continues. We've replaced a lot. The big problem with that, Sadiq, and I understand that, and I was saying the same thing, but one of the only holes that I find in this is that every single one of those managers were hired by the old regime and not hired by Ineos. Now, Ineos, they want to stick with Erik Ten Hag. They think he's the right guy. And maybe the person they actually want isn't necessarily available right now, so they want to stick with Erik Ten Hag. They've been backing Erik Ten Hag. They want to give him, as you see here, they wanted to give him at least a season to see, if there are any more improvements, and then maybe they would review it again and see if they should go forward with him. But at the same time, you know, I think right now we kind of have a more concrete plan of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build than we ever had. I think under Van Gaal, I think, you know, Moyes, we never had a plan. Van Gaal, we never had a real plan. Jose, I think they had a plan and abandoned it. I think Ali, they had a plan and they abandoned it. I think Ralph, they did the same thing, obviously, because he wasn't supposed to be, you know, the actual manager. He was supposed to go upstairs and provide, you know, just like as a director or something like that, to help. And they abandoned that plan. And then they got Erik Ten Hag. And I think the first season was good, came in. The second season, a little bit rocky. I think he got hurt by, you know, the takeover of the club as well, and the finances being screwed and shit like that a little bit. And then injuries and stuff like that. And now we are here in the third season once again. But, you know, I don't know how many managers, but at the same time, you know, there's plenty of clubs that sack tons of managers. And sometimes they, you know, it might take a couple managers, but they do improve after a couple managers. You know, so I don't know what is the right answer anymore. I was there defending, saying that we can't sack another manager like this, but at the same time, I do have questions, and I do have worries about, you know, his adaptability. The fact that, you know, his system isn't working. He's not trying to change too many things. And I don't know if he's going to be able to get it to work. So a draw would be considered a loss, though. I mean, for the under the current circumstances, Lions, I don't think so. I mean, it might be, but you're talking about away from home, Porto, which we're already saying is, you know, not going to be an easy match because it's kind of a hostile environment, right? And they're not, you know, the Portuguese teams are never necessarily, they're not bad teams. Benfica, Sporting, and Porto, they're always, you know, there's at least two always in the Champions League, and they play well. And the other one's always in Europa, or I think they got another two in Europa, and they usually do very well too, and they always go to the latter stages. So it's not like we're playing like, you know, some unknown team from like Switzerland or something like that with like a much smaller league. I mean, those three teams in the Portuguese league, as much as, you know, some people might want to talk shit about them, they always perform in Europe very, very well. They perform in Europe very, very strong. They're strong European competitors. So, you know, I think under the current circumstances, and even before that, I think the problem and the issue was we should have beat Twente. That should have been 3. And if we went to Porto and, you know, we go and get a 1-1 draw or something like that, or a 2-2 draw at Porto's home in a hostile environment, you know, I think that was livable with. Obviously, you want Manchester United to win, but I think it was livable with, because it's a hostile environment, it's away from home, it's a tough match, they're not an easy team to play. They do good in Europe. And I think if you take a draw out of that and you move on to the next one, you'd be okay. The problem is that we didn't win against Twente. And I still don't think that a draw against Porto in the circumstances that we are in right now is actually a bad result. But it's not the good result that we really need, that Ten Hag really needs. So for me, it would really be probably the Villa game as well, you know, because I think, and then what if he beats Porto but loses to Villa? What do you do then? Because that's kind of like you're splitting it 50-50 there. So, you know, I don't know. Now, you know, we're going to start getting into some crazy semantics and stuff like that. Think we're going to show up against Porto? Well, we have the poll that if you think the players are going to show up in the next 2 matches or not, and vote in that if you haven't voted already. We made clear, Erik, that he has to start new players in the next 2 games. Make sure to get performance. I think so. I would change much of the you know, not much of the team, but I would change a couple things, and I would do things. You know, number 1, Marcus Rashford out of the team, Garnacho on the left, Diallo on the right. If we can, Rasmus Højlund up top. And then in the midfield, you could do a numerous amount of things. But I would bring Casemiro back in. I would put Ugarte in, or may. I think Casemiro and Ugarte would probably be the best, because we need to get a hold of that midfield. So I would do that, and then you get somebody, Mainu, Mount, Xerxes, somebody to play behind the striker. And the defense, you keep it as it was before, because that's the best defense we got, and we have no backups in there. But you call fucking Harry Amos up to the bench, for sure. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Yes, please smash the like button if you can for me, real quick. We greatly appreciate it. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know when we go live. We're always going live. Tomorrow we'll also be live around the same time, and then we will be live for after the FC Porto match to do our usual Red Devil recap. So please, we love you to get involved. A couple newer people get involved in the chat too, so it's good to see. He's not worried about them, guys. It is Erik Ten Hag's fault that he is too stubborn to adapt to the tactics to the players he has. Made clear the club want to perform. Richard, Erik has to start new players. Sadiq's agreeing with Grace. Whoa. I was just watching Line saying he was just watching the under-21s against Hertha. They definitely know how to control a match. They play how the first team wants to play. Yeah, and I don't, and again, I think that's partly because, well, okay, there's maybe a little bit less pressure on them in terms of, eyes and stuff like that. But I think those players are fighting for their lives. You know what I mean? Their careers. Like, they're trying to make it. They want to make it. They want to get into the first. Like, there is a hunger there. There is a drive there for them to want to succeed. I think some of the players that have been here for a while, they don't really have that drive. It's more just like, you ever know anybody that stayed with somebody, like stayed in a relationship because it's not so much that they like the person or that they're in love with the person, but it's more of just like a situational thing, like it gets the bills paid or something like that, or they provide this even though I don't really like that like, that's kind of how I feel like a couple of the players in the squad are. Like they're not like fully in love with it, but it gives them the most money, the most exposure and shit like that or whatever. So mentality, senior players stand up terrible. United, what wrong mentality? I mean, we have terrible. Grace is calling you all frauds for not hitting the like button, so hit the like button if you're not a fraud. Lucky Singh, 13 years. Ineos need to get doctors in dressing room for old players. I mean, I don't think doctors are going to solve that problem. I think you just got to get them out, Singh. I think you just got to get them out. All right, let me get through the rest of this, because there's actually a bunch of stuff that we got to get through, and we've 42 minutes in, so we have about a little bit under an hour to go. So I want to get through all of this stuff, and there's more stuff that came out after. So let me go through these slides real quick. So Melissa Reddy, Sky Sports and whatever else she does, apparently she's saying that the choice of keeping Erik Ten Hag in the summer was driven by Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir David Brailsford. So it's really going more on them, which is kind of interesting, because does that mean that Jason Wilcox or Omar Barada or Dan Ashworth weren't the ones that really wanted him, or Jean-Claude Blanc, and it was really Ten Hag and Sir Jim and Sir Dave Brailsford that were the two that were spearheading that. But I guess you could also say, it does show that they did trust him, and they wanted him to stay. So, but following that up, Chris Wheeler, who has more to say after yesterday, saying United sources, so back to the United sources, would love to know who these sources are. Chris. Would love to know who they are. United sources insist that Erik Ten Hag has the full support of Van Nistelrooy and Rene Hack, and say they're working in unison behind the scenes to overcome a difficult start to the season. So a little bit of positivity there, I guess you would say, compared to the other news. Continuing on, Erik Ten Hag still retains the support of majority of the dressing room, having signed many of the players and worked with a number of them. And I think that is an interesting update from Chris Wheeler, because I think basically what we were saying yesterday, and a lot of people are saying this in our fan base, and they've been saying this in our fan base for quite some time, is that a lot of the players, and actually, they're not his players, but he signed the players, right? Like, not in terms of like he worked with them in the past, because there's only like 4 or 5 of them or so that he actually worked with in the past. The majority of the squad that he signed is about 11 players or so. So he signed like almost basically a whole starting 11, if not a starting 11, right? So the players that came in were his signings, but the number of players that he worked with in the past is only about like 5 of them. But I don't think like any of those players, and could be maybe 1 or 2 of them, because they might have not the greatest relationship. Maybe he did bring in this player, and maybe that player has been influenced by somebody else in the dressing room that's completely against Erik Ten Hag. It is possible. If you think about it in a work situation environment, right? There's always the boss. The boss never has friends. Maybe he has like 1 or 2 friends, right? But nobody ever likes the boss. Really? You know what I mean? Like, if you're in the break room and you're taking lunch, do you really want to take lunch with your boss? There's not too many people that do that. They take lunch with the other employees. They relate more with the other employees. They're like, and then what usually happens is they do talk shit about the boss, you know what I mean? And that's why they don't want him around. So, and the manager's not always around when the players are inside of the dressing room and shit like that. So you never know what goes on. And Lucky Singh works in business. So I assume that, that probably does. I mean, if you're doing meetings and stuff like that, I know how, that the office business type of environment can be. It can be good, but it also can be kind of backstabbish. So you might be privy to that as well if you've ever experienced that. But yeah, I feel like it's similar to that in a way. So. Moving on, Erik Ten Hag kept his cool after the defeat. He praised the players for the reaction after Bruno Fernandes was sent off and said they gave their all on the pitch. So make of that what you will. I don't really know. Doesn't everyone technically work in business? I mean, not really. I mean, in a form of business, sure. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Lions, but I mean, you might be right on that, but yeah, so make it out what you will. I mean, he kept his cool. He praised the players for the reaction after Bruno Fernandes was sent off, and they said they gave their all on the pitch. No. I mean, if you're doing that, Erik, then you're just naive or something. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Because they fucking didn't. I mean, how can they give their all on the pitch and lose? If they gave their all on the pitch and they suffered a goal 2 minutes into the match, and then they suffered another goal 2 minutes into the second half, and they lost 3-0 to Spurs, and we went down a man and got a red card, which, by the way, is not a red card, which we need to talk about. How if they gave their all on the pitch, Erik, then you might as well just fucking resign. If that's for real, Erik, you might as well just go walk into Sir Jim and tell them, here's my resignation. These players are fucking useless. They gave it their all and they lost 3-0 at home to Tottenham Hotspur and got completely outplayed. What are we doing? What are we doing then? It's a waste of time. Just quit. Just hand in your resignation. Say these players are fucking useless and then go on holiday or go find a new job. It doesn't make sense, really. So apparently, players have vented their frustration. And this is also from Chris Wheeler. Chris Wheeler, a lot to say. So I don't know, who's actually his sources, but he's got a lot of news coming out in the past 2 days. Talking among themselves at halftime and full time, there was frustration. There was frustration among the Manchester United players that the team is not capable of showing more character and fight, particularly in moments of adversity. Now, I don't know if, I hope that they're talking about solely themselves and not, that doesn't go on the manager, I would say. And if they're taking some sort of a responsibility for themselves, that's a good thing. But at the same time, I can't necessarily trust this, because you're briefing journalists about stuff from inside of the dressing room, and this could be fucking PR for yourselves. So, we are taking responsibility. We are looking at ourselves in the mirror, but also Erik Ten Hag isn't doing a good job. But we're not happy with ourselves either, because, we're not capable of showing more character and fight. But the tactics are shit. But we're not happy that, he doesn't let us do this. Or we're not happy that he wants us to play this possession football. So I don't know. There's a lot of funny, fishy stuff coming out right now. Yeah, Richard didn't keep his cool. Neither did our own Erik. I definitely did not keep my cool. I'm not going to keep my cool. Not if they keep doing this kind of stuff. So, and then we had a couple loose end updates that came from apparently Manchester United recruitment staff are on tenterhooks amid greater scrutiny of the club's hit rate in the transfer market. Well-placed sources say the arrival of Sir Jim Ratcliffe has created a stricter recruitment operation at the club. The follow-up to that is one scout said staff are working in fear as they are under the impression that jobs could be on the line if they make a mistake over a signing. Now, I don't think one mistake over one signing is going to get your job lost, but I am here for this because they shouldn't be working in like fear every day to lose their job, but that should be in the back of their mind, like, I need to do a good job or I'm going to lose my job. I don't think they should be afraid to make a decision, because if that one decision is wrong, because that's not a correct environment. But I think they should always have it in the back of their mind that, like, I need to do the best job I possibly can, or I will end up getting fired. They need to be on top of their job. I think, part of the problem in the past was that, like, these guys were just doing whatever they wanted. They were incompetent. They'd get shit wrong all the time, and they were allowed to stay there. So, it's not necessarily a negative thing. I just don't think it would be good if they, go into work every day and they are literally shitting themselves, that they might, if they breathe the wrong way, they might get fired. I don't think that's a good environment. But I think, number one, things from what they were in place before definitely needed to be stricter, and there should always be some type of incentive and performance based things that, like, if you don't do a good job and you fail at your job, you don't deserve to keep your job. It's just how the fucking world works. Shouldn't be any different at Manchester United, and the same should go for the players. It should be from the top down. It should be the same like that from the top down. From the CEO down to the people that clean the floors, and the bathrooms, like all of them. And if you don't do a good job, you lose your job and you get replaced by somebody that can do your job properly. So Southgate update. Apparently Manchester United are aware appointing Gareth Southgate as manager would not be well received with the fan base. Well, no shit, Melissa Reddy. Thank you for that update. I mean, I could be the Sky Sports presenter at this point. I could be a correspondent. Breaking news: Manchester United fans would Manchester United are very aware that appointing Gareth Southgate would be, very, very bad, and they would be pissed off, and there would be a shitstorm. Like, no shit, he's a terrible manager, and nobody likes him, nobody wants him. Like, thank you, Einstein. Bit of update from Dan Ashworth, saying that Dan Ashworth has used the transfer window closure to take a deep dive into the inner workings of Manchester United. His priority during the first 2 months was the window activity, but he has noticed shortcomings in certain areas. Now, this was mixed into all the stuff with the manager and the players, which I found very interesting, because what shortcomings are they exactly? Shortcomings in the squad in terms of, depth, shortcomings in that certain players aren't good enough, don't have the ability, maybe it's their attitude, maybe it's their work ethic, I don't know. But this was something that we were talking about last time, that they need, a lot of them are getting a first-hand, we said this yesterday and the day before, a lot of them are getting a live first-hand experience on what is going on with the players and stuff like that. So they're seeing it firsthand for the first time themselves live. So, I think, if they're good at their job, they're going to notice that there's certain shit that is wrong, or certain shit that actually needs to be addressed and be fixed with. So that is something that I am hopeful with. So let's see what comes out of this. Lucky saying that Manchester United staff needs sacking. We had let go. We're not cleaning toilets and kitchens. Lions saying, shouldn't Ten Hag technically 2 writing warnings and a verbal warning to be before he gets sacked? I mean, maybe. I don't know, but we don't know like what they actually talk about. We only know what gets leaked, but we don't know what they say in the meetings. You know what I mean? But that's kind of like school. That's like school: 2 writing warnings and a verbal warning. And they send you to the detention center. Evra has been speaking, and we're going to run through this quick. I'm going to go through all the quotes, and then if anybody has any opinions or thoughts or whatever about what he said, or something lights up in your brain, then we could talk about that as well. But Patrice Evra, talking about Erik Ten Hag, saying, we're going to keep saying if he loses those 2 games, and Ray was saying this the other day actually, but we're going to keep saying if he loses these 2 games, he's going to get sacked. But from experience, every time when he had that game, when we're going to say he's going to get sacked, he always wins them. So I'm not worried. So Patrice Evra apparently not worried. I am certainly worried, Patrice, but you're allowed to not be worried. And I like Patrice because I think Patrice is authentic. He might say things that you don't agree with. He might say things that you think maybe is crazy sometimes. But I think Patrice is real. I think Patrice doesn't. I don't think Patrice. I don't think Patrice does things to get clicks and reactions like a couple of our other ex-players that are on TV every single chance they possibly get. And he actually said something about it, which that's what I kind of wanted to point out, and that's where it is here. He's saying, of course, it's hard to see United like that. It hurts. That's why the commentary is sometimes hard, because people get frustrated when they see the club they love so much disappointing them. That's why I asked not to commentate on the United games when I worked for Sky, because I couldn't pretend. When your club doesn't perform, it hurts, obviously. And I think that is a very just why I was saying that I believe Patrice is real, because you can compare him to Gary Neville and maybe a couple other, I think you can compare him to Gary Neville and a couple other people like of our ex-players that are constantly on TV. And I respect that, the fact that Patrice is so passionate about the club, like he literally can't do commentary because we're in such a not good position that he just can't do it, and he doesn't want to do it. So he's removed himself from the situation, while the other ones are purposely putting themselves in that position to, you know, benefit their career outside of the pitch. But Evra actually cares so much about the club, it hurts too much for him to even actually do the commentary. Like, he doesn't give a shit about that actual money or whatever it is. He just wants to see United do good. And so therefore he doesn't even want to commentate. Like, he doesn't even want to be involved when United, like, put me on any other match, put me on any other game. If it's United, I don't want to be involved because I can't help myself. So, you know, I respect Evra a lot. And, you know, that's why I said, like, you know, I personally, for me, like, you might not agree with everything he says, but I think out of a lot of the ex-players that we have that come out and speak, I think he's one of the realest, in my opinion. I think he cares a lot more than a lot of other certain ex-players that we have that, you know, have high-paying jobs in the media. Lion saying Evra's words are no more crazy than all his glasses. I love his glasses. His glasses are cool. Red tinted glasses. He's got the red tinted glasses, the Manchester United glasses. He sees everything with a red tinted red tinted. I love them. They're actually great. Ray's saying I'm not worried the players turning upon Thursday. Well, I hope you guys are right, but I don't know. I just don't feel good about it. I don't, and I hope I'm wrong, but I don't feel good about it. Glad Evra been honest, doesn't support punditry. That's what I like about Evra. Lucky, he better than Paul TNT. Erik is the Patrice Evra of the United fans channel. Well, yeah, maybe we are. Maybe I am. Maybe I am, Richard. Maybe. Let's see. Well, he had a couple more things to say, so let's get through this because we are running. What time is it? 3:32. So we've been live for about an hour. So we got about like a half hour left. Because I'm gonna do about a half hour in. So he also said the problem with United is that you don't know what to expect. They react when their backs are against the wall. So that's why I'm positive. But you have to be careful. The last defeat at home to Tottenham was hard to accept. He also said, you know, it feels like Ten Hag has the support of Ineos, which I believe that they do have the support of Ineos. And, you know, just back onto what he said over here is that, you know, this is why I'm worried, Patrice, because the problem with United is you don't know what to expect. You don't know what you're going to get. And there has been times when they react when their backs are against the wall. But I think their backs were against the wall versus Tottenham. I think their backs were against the wall, you know, versus Liverpool and a couple other matches. I think there was an expectation for them to win. I think they needed to win, and they didn't do it, and they let the manager down, and they played poorly, and that's why I'm worried. You know, you're positive because you think their backs against the wall, but I'm worried because I think their backs were already against the wall, and it's even more against the wall, and they already failed when it was against the wall, and now that it's more against the wall, I think there's a good chance that they're just gonna not get it done. And you know, he does say that, but you have to be careful because the last defeat at home to Tottenham was hard to accept, and it was tough. It was a tough pill to swallow. You know, you saw, you know, a lot of us felt broken, a lot of us felt down. You know, I'm still not over it. You know, I built myself up hope, and they really, really let me down, and they let a lot of people down as well. Did anybody see Jones on Sky and Match of the Day? He's pretty good as a pundit. Well, you know, at least I hope you know, for something like that, because obviously his career didn't go very good, and as much as we banter him, you know, for that shit, and a lot of it is actually kind of sad and not really his fault. You know, hopefully he just has something to carry him over, because his you know, his playing career was pretty screwed, and that aspect that sucks. But you know, Patrice Evra also said it's positive to see youngsters come up and play without fear. I mean, I didn't read this. I just saw the quote, screened it, but I said the same thing. Garnacho and Maino have the Man United DNA, and that's what we want to see. But they always come. They come. They play without fear. They play with confidence in themselves. They play with a point to prove. Right? And that's why they come in and they play so well, and they play so well immediately. They play so well immediately, more better than some of the players that are on 250 to 350,000 a week and are supposed to be the top players at the club, because they have a point to prove. They have something to prove. They are hungry. There's a drive for them to succeed. The other ones are on cruise control. They got the wages already. They got the spot already. They're never going to get, they have the contract. They don't need to go anywhere. There's if they play bad, they play bad. They'll be back next week. Sure, the fans will criticize them, but maybe they don't give a shit. So, the younger players actually have something to prove. That's why they always come in and do good. But then he also said, I'm proud of them, the United youth. I spoke to Kobe Mainu, which interesting, and told them to keep going. This is United, and that hasn't changed, even if the first team's results aren't great. And I think we could all probably agree on that sentiment with Evra, at least, the very least. That the youth has always been a part of Manchester United. And, we are proud of the likes of Kobe and Garnacho, and any other player that may come through in the future or is close, to coming through. We're proud of you because, we always support the youth. It's a big part of what Manchester United is. And even if the first team is shit, we can never stop trying to develop and bring in our own, and take care and look after our own. The thing that scares me the most is that how long does it take for those youth players to get corrupted and dragged down into the shit of the other more senior pro players? Because that's really what I worry about the most. I think when these kids first come in, very raw, it's a new experience. They haven't been around, these people, these other players too much. They're very excited. And I think they do very well. But I think once you settle a little bit more into that environment, I think they do start to get affected and they do start to get influenced. And sometimes, it's not all negative. There's good influences and there's good things that they can pick up from the senior players. But, while there's good, there's always bad. It's always yin and yang. And for me, a lot of the negatives, it seems like overshadows a lot of the good that goes on there, or it just has a greater power and it has a greater effect on players and the club itself. And so I do worry about these players, like these younger players that come in, because it is like, how long does it take for them to kind of get infected by whatever virus has been infecting our players in our club for years now? So, I do worry for them. I do. Very, very sad for Jones, but he was a warrior. If you want push self as a player, Amad Diallo wants to prove self. Fight Amad Diallo, Rasmus Højlund, Kobe Mainu, Willie Kumbwala, Casemiro, Harry Maguire, Lisandro Martinez. That's who you're saying. They are those the ones? Bruno Fernandes, Rashford need to go in January or the summer. This is what Lucky Singh is saying. And so Lucky, you saying Ahmad, Rama, Rasmus, Højlund, Kobe, Willie, Casemiro, Harry Maguire, and Lisandro Martinez. Are you saying those are all the ones that fight, the ones that have character, the ones that are like the real players? And you think that Bruno Fernandes and Rashford are the problems and that they need to go? Lions is saying, am I correct in thinking that Diallo isn't classed as a homegrown player as we bought him from Atalanta? I don't think he is necessarily. I mean, he is considered, a younger player. He is considered one that still has a bright future at Manchester United, and he has a lot more years ahead of him, but I don't think he's classed as a homegrown player because we did get him from Atalanta kind of at like an older age. I think he was already I forgot how old exactly he was. Was he 17? Something like that. So yeah, I don't think they actually class him as a homegrown player. The good, the bad, and the ugly, Richard says. Willie has left the club. He has, but we could always get him back, I believe, with the buyback. So yeah, he's gone. He is gone. Bruno Fernandes has had time not work, Lucky says, and I would tell Ineos, sell him, even Rashford, by many ways. 18 or so. Yeah, that's why I think, you know, if it was like 18, I don't, you know, they don't consider him, like a homegrown, like, you know, they don't consider him a youth product for sure. Ollie got him, right? Yeah, Ollie got him. I think it was it the first or second season of Ollie? I can't remember. If it was the first or second season. I know Ollie got him. I just don't remember which year it was. But I remember we signed him, Palestri. It was really out of nowhere. It was weird. And nobody knew actually what the plan was. Somehow he's made it there. But listen, there was some more news that went live that I didn't put inside of the show. And if anybody that hasn't liked the video yet, if you can like it for me, I would greatly appreciate it. And there's probably a couple more updates, so let's see. So the news would be, and this came out right before we went live, that Manchester United did appeal the Bruno Fernandes red card. So Manchester United have apparently won their appeal of Bruno Fernandes' red card against Spurs, and he will be available for the next 3 league games. So bad news if you wanted Bruno out. You don't think he's a problem and you wanted him involved. But apparently, you know, not a red card, wasn't a red card. We actually won an appeal that is not very, very common. And they actually used to, you know, give you an extra match for appealing a decision. And they would turn down your appeal. So, you know, the fact that the Premier League granted the appeal, I mean, it just clearly was never a red card, and just fucked us over even more. I mean, Chris Kavanagh, should never, I don't think Chris Kavanagh should ref any Premier League match. I don't think, you know, because I hear Arsenal people complain about him, we complain about him, Liverpool fans complain about him, and then everybody complains about him except for Manchester City fans. One, because there's not a lot of them, but two, because, you know, they probably pay him off or whatever. But, you know, I don't think he's a Premier League referee. I don't think he's good enough. He should not ref. And then, you know, what was the point of VAR? Because clearly, whoever looked at the decision was like, you know, everybody knew that wasn't red. Everybody said it wasn't red. They looked at it. They reviewed it. And VAR just decided that they were going to stick with whatever the referee decided. So, you know, what the fuck was the point of what's the point of having VAR? Let's just get rid of it then. You know, it's there for no reason. But yeah, he's back. So I still wouldn't play him. Against Porto. I wouldn't. But if we know Ten Hag, he's going to start him and he's going to start Rashford. So you know, if we lose and they have the 2 worst games you've ever seen in a Manchester United shirt, then he's brought it on himself. So, and Benny McCarthy has done some talking today. Some interesting actual quotes from Benny McCarthy. I think he actually said quite a lot more than I thought or imagined he would say, and some things sound a certain way. I guess maybe it depends how you read into it or not, but yeah, Benny McCarthy said on Bruno Fernandes that he believes that Bruno Fernandes is one of the world's elite and has the ability to play for Real Madrid. That's how special he is. He also had some more things to say. Saying, Benny McCarthy said, I remember my relationship with the players. I had a fantastic bond with each of them. They understood me and I understood them. But because I wasn't the head coach, my ideas couldn't be passed on directly to the team. I always had to tell the head coach what I thought, which is normal for someone like me with strong convictions. It's not easy. The last word always went to Erik Ten Hag. This is for those, I'm just reading a comment. Yeah. Okay, so, oh, no, we lost our spot. Oh, we found our spot. Benny McCarthy then went on to say, Ten Hag, I guess he was asked about the difference between him and Ten Hag, and he said, Ten Hag different from me, question mark. Sometimes I didn't see the passion in him. He has a different personality, a different profile. Now, people are gonna read into that one way or another. You could read into it a couple different ways. But yeah, I thought, this dropping on top of that. And Benny McCarthy always saying Bruno Fernandes lives for football. Diego Dalot is like that too. If some of the United players had what Bruno and Diogo have, it would have been easier to get good results. They gave their all. Some didn't. That ended up limiting the team's progress because some players weren't training to their full potential. Even in matches, the data showed us that some were performing at their peak and others a little bit below. I mean, Benny's coming here with groundbreaking shit on top of everything that's going on. But I think, to be fair to Benny on that quote, and that's kind of what Bruno's kind of been being criticized a little bit more for right now, is because it doesn't seem like, like he's giving us his all. Bruno always does wild passes. Sometimes he gives away possessions cheaply. Sometimes he's caught out of positioning. He's always done that ever since he came to us. He was doing that before he came to us. But the thing was, he always gave us his all, and he always had like an impact on the match. And he's not doing those two things right now. But in the big context, I agree that, Bruno does live for football. I think Diogo Dalot is also lives for football. And I think we do have some players, that they are not giving it their all. I think it's been obvious that they don't give it their all. I don't think they give it their all in training. I don't think they give it their all in matches, compared to some other players. So I think Benny's spot on there. Benny also saying, tactically, Erik Ten Hag is one of the smartest coaches I've ever met. He's a smart man, very smart. He's meticulous, detail-oriented. He put everything at the players' disposal, carefully explaining every possible situation. He then also went on to say, in modern football, I think footballers want to see a bit more passion in their manager. They need to feel that the manager is with them and is ready to fight alongside them. Tactically, I think Erik Ten Hag is at the top. He lacks a bit of fire and that passion. That's where we are different. Him and I want to be at his level in terms of tactical mastery. I think my biggest strength is the empathy I create with the players. That's the difference. That fire I feel inside me, that hunger I have, Erik gives the players all the information and expects them to deliver on the pitch. I mean, this is probably one of the most damning he worked alongside Erik Ten Hag, so this might be one of the most damning things to come out, if what he's saying is true. But this is pretty big stuff on top of what what's already been going on, and this just came out in the last hour. So I think absolutely it's just a madness. It's just a madness. It's just every day it's just something else, and something new is coming along, and holy shit, like let me see if I could find some more updates, because there was some more updates. So actually, here we go, because some shit goes out of order and I don't know why. And that from Benny was more like it was like a give and take. Like, he did praise him, but then he also did kind of slight him. So yeah. What are you guys saying about the chat? Ali got him right. Yeah. I want us new left back, new strikers January. Well, that's not going to happen, Singh, because we don't have the money for it. I mean, we might be able to get a left back, and maybe just a left back, unless we sell players that we don't foresee being sold right now. But I don't see that happening. I don't. The most biggest possibility we get one position, so I don't think we'll get strikers. And I think we are intensifying, looking to get a left back in. That's been intensifying for quite some time. Robinson has been linked. There's some interest in Robinson as well from other clubs. And I think that's probably the most likely. I don't think we're going to see strikers. And I don't think we're going to, we might not even see the left back in January, to be honest. So yeah, and Lions says still need to bench him just for a wee bit, maybe to fuck him up a bit, in a good way. Yeah, I think we could give other players a chance as well. I just don't. I just don't understand why you can't. And maybe we do play better without him. I don't know. I'm lost on that aspect. There's a lot of people that argue that because of the way Bruno plays, we don't play good, and we can't play good as long as Bruno Fernandes plays because he can't play the system. And maybe they're right. I don't really know anymore in that aspect. I mean, for me to know, I want to see it. So I was actually okay with Bruno being out for 3 matches because I wanted to see how the team was going to play. I wanted to see the type of football we were going to play, and I wanted to see if we might be able to get results in that aspect. But obviously now that opportunity has gotten robbed because he's going to be available. The red card was rescinded, and I expect Erik Ten Hag to play him. So, it is what it is. But there's nothing you could really do about that. So I want Lion, my feeling towards Bruno Fernandes, Eriksen, Rashford need benching. Lucky saying if I was manager and pressure drop Bruno, Rashford, start Rasmus, Mount, Ahmad, Harry Maguire, Casemiro, Manuel Ugarte, and Delo. Well, I was with you there up until you said Harry. I would not start Harry. I think you got to continue with De Ligt, and Martinez. I would not start Harry Maguire. Benny was always a bit of a bit fiery as a player as well. Well, I think that's what he was getting to. I think Bruno's head is somewhere else. Could be. He does seem not himself for whatever. And no, I'm still convinced we played damn better with Bruno in the team, but this isn't our Bruno. Yeah, certainly there's something wrong with Bruno, but I'm surprised nobody had really anything else to say about the things that Benny McCarthy has said, because I think they're actually kind of damning on Erik Ten Hag. I think when people read those, and sorry I'm off camera right now, I just had to grab something real quick. I think the fact that he worked with him, and it's probably the most like real quotes you could get, because he was literally within his staff. So yeah, I mean, I think the fan base, the people especially that don't like Erik Ten Hag and they want him sacked, and they're against him. I think they're gonna have a field day with those quotes, because they're gonna use it as an excuse to go at Erik Ten Hag and be like, see, he can't galvanize the players. He's like a robot. He has all the information, but he lacks passion. He lacks the emotional support that a good manager has. Like, you have to be smart tactically, but you also have to be a good manager. I think they're going to use that to personally attack him. And I think it's a crazy time for that shit to come out. So, yeah, it's just wild. Do like way speaks Bruno Fernandes is not Manchester United player. So Lucky don't think he's Manchester United player either. Yeah, so it is crazy. There's 11 people in here and we have 8 likes. We have 12 people in here and we have 8 likes. Can we get 12? Can we get 12 for 12, please? And thank you. I would greatly appreciate it. I need to know how long exactly we've been live for. We started at 2:30. It's an hour and a half, so maybe we got about 15 more minutes or so that we could keep it going. And then we'll end the show. So, yes. Let me see if there's any other updates that we got going on here. I mean, there's probably not a lot right now because there is Champions League going on right now. So, but those Benny quotes to me are huge. So actually, this is coming out. This came from the Muppeteers. Let me see. This just came out about 39 minutes ago. Oh, there was actually a couple more updates that I did miss. So, and I think on the point of on Benny, that Benny said that in modern football, I think the footballers want to see a bit more passion in their manager. I think that's what I was kind of trying to say. Like, I think maybe if you're younger, maybe you are a little bit more passionate. I think Vincent Kompany carries that. He's younger, but he also is more passionate. Obviously, like, you've seen him give speeches and shit. Like, he does get fired up. He does go crazy. So, and maybe the younger generation needs that. Maybe they need somebody that's constantly pushing them, because if they don't have somebody that's actually constantly pushing them but also supporting them, then they kind of either they get lost or they just fall off real easily, because they're not as strong as like the older generation used to be. So I don't think he's wrong in the things. Apparently, the Muppeteers has put out saying that Marcus Rashford is not the source leaking and he is not the one complaining. So I would just like to know from the Muppeteers how you know that it's not Marcus Rashford, right? And how do you know that it's specifically not Marcus Rashford, right? And if you know that it's not Marcus Rashford, then that means that you must know who it is. For you to say that it's not Marcus Rashford, then they must know who is leaking and who is complaining. Therefore, that player needs to be dealt with right now. This literally just came out like about an hour ago. Marcus Rashford is not the source leaking. He is not the one complaining. Well, who fed you that? Is that somebody in Marcus's camp telling you that? Is that because you know who is leaking and who is complaining, therefore you can make that statement? See, this is what I'm saying. People know who it is, but they're protecting them. And they shouldn't be protected because they are disruptive to the club. They are a problem to the club. You can't, listen, it's one thing to have discrepancies inside of the club. If you are a player, right, it's totally normal to be upset with certain shit, like a decision the manager makes, maybe the tactics or something, but you have the balls to go to the manager or somebody inside of the coaching staff or something and say it so that it can be addressed and dealt with in-house. Not you be a coward or spineless and you don't bring it up to the manager, or you don't bring it up to somebody in the coaching staff or somebody at the club, and you go and instead you leak it to the media so that you can paint them as the bad guy. So, to me, when you do that, you are a disgrace. I'm fully aware and I'm fully okay with, players are allowed to have opinions, but it's the way they're handling it. You're not handling it in-house. You're not handling it with respect. You're being a selfish brat. And a selfish, entitled brat. You are doing damage to the club, and to Manchester United in a period where we are suffering as a whole, and you are looking out for yourself by leaking shit to about the manager to the media and putting more heat on him so that less of the blame goes on you. That is selfishness. And you don't belong at this club if you're going to act like that. Another update from the Muppeteers. Manchester United apparently could try to go for Tuchel again, but it's unlikely. He turned the club down in the summer. So, the Muppeteers going against what was reported yesterday, because apparently Tuchel would have welcomed another approach. The Muppeteers saying that Manchester United could potentially try to go again for Tuchel, but it's unlikely because he apparently turned the club down, and I don't think that they don't want to waste their time with that. And then Muppeteers also coming with another update saying Kieran McKenna, Xabi Alonso, and Ruben Amorim are the three managers Ineos likes, but they could be more over the end of the season. And I think Ruben Amorim is a good manager. I don't know if he would succeed at Manchester United, but I think out of the people that have been listed, named with Manchester United, I think he's a good candidate. Obviously, Xabi Alonso is probably, the best candidate because he's doing the best out of, everybody that's been linked with us. Not necessarily the best manager in the world, but the best out of, who's been named with us. I think obviously Xabi Alonso is probably number one on the list. And then there's Kieran McKenna, who also plays very good football that we would probably like to see at Manchester United. But he is inexperienced. He's getting some experience right now. I think, Ipswich, it's always a tough job. They are struggling a bit. The golfing class in terms of, ability there. They're always going to struggle, but I don't think he's doing necessarily bad. They are scoring goals in their matches. They are just conceding a lot of goals, but that really has to kind of probably do with the level of personnel that they have and not really McKenna's tactics as much. So, those three candidates, those aren't bad options, actually, if you're going to go with them. Obviously, Alonso's the best. I think Ruben Amorim, second best, and then McKenna would be third just because of the lack of experience, even though, he gets the club. But what is there to get of the club? Because, the past 11 years, we've kind of erased everything that used to be what we were. But yeah, Marcus Rashford, we all know, head in football. Marcus, who isn't playing? Could it be Anthony? It could be Anthony. It could very well be Anthony because, they're all players, and that's kind of the point that I forgot to bring in earlier lines, but, some people are making arguments that, because it is his team and he signed all these players that, they couldn't be, how can they be the ones leaking? But there are some players that, they might side with. Maybe there was a small group of players that are against Erik Ten Hag, and now he's siding with them. We can't. I don't think it's specifically one player. What I think is happening, which is usually what happens, in my opinion, is there is cliques. There is a clique that don't want the manager to fail. They don't want him to be sacked. They still back him and they still listen to him and they still support him and they still try their very best because, number one, it comes from them. They do it no matter what because they feel an opportunity. They feel obliged to do so because it's just part of them. They're not going to let themselves down and they're not going to let others down. They give their very best no matter what. Then there's others who are maybe a little more moody or they have not as strong as a mentality or attitude, and then there's ones that have a really bad attitude or, mentality. And what I think happens is there's maybe a couple that at some point or maybe early on, they just don't like him. And they can gain influence over other players based on what happens, throughout the time at Manchester United. I mean, Anthony was definitely on Ten Hag's side. It's a possibility that Anthony might be less on Ten Hag's side because maybe, the way things were dealt with between each other. I mean, Anthony literally threw a shit fit on the pitch in front of the entire world on TV and the stadium when Ten Hag told him to play left back. He did it publicly. So it is a possibility that even players that he's brought in, even players that he's worked with in the past, they can get influenced by the other clique that are against Ten Hag. And him or somebody else, because it might not be Anthony, it could be other players, but they just might be like, you know what, screw this guy, and these guys are right. Like, I identify more with these guys. Like, these guys are correct. Like, he is a dickhead. He is unfair. He is, his tactics are shit or whatever. And that is the problem in the dynamic in this. That players can get infected, if you want to call it that. So, we had the poll running. They had 17 votes. I asked, will the players actually show up in the next 2 matches? If you didn't vote now, and you can change the percentages. But as it stands right now, 35% of the people think that the players will actually show up in the next 2 matches, and 65% of the people that voted say no bloody chance. And I think that's where we really stand right now. It does just it just does show that there is a real lack of belief going on right now. Richard saying, yes, Erik, young people like yourself need constant guidance. I mean, I'm not that young. I'm probably, if I was in the squad, I'm one of the more senior players because I am 30 now. But in the grand life of scheme, I guess I am still young, right? But in terms of them, there's a lot of players in there that are younger than me by quite some years. Some of them are, even 10 plus years younger than me. So yeah, but not all young people, but I think it's just the generation. Even for myself, I would say, I do find myself sometimes that I do need, like, I think humans react well to somebody. That's why people get like personal trainers and stuff when they go fitness, like, and the gym and stuff like that. Like, I feel like just as human beings, like, naturally anyway, like, if somebody's on top of you holding accountability on you, and they get a good reaction out of you, and the chemistry as well, you're more likely to react in a better way. You're more likely to work harder and stuff like that. So, Richard, Marcus Rashford leak. No, he doesn't know that. I think some people know that. I don't think Richard knows that. I could see Eriksen doing something like that. He always got a smug look in his interviews. Kind of don't trust him. Yeah, but then that's why it's difficult to find out, because we don't really know other than how we see them, and looks can be deceiving. I mean, I was one of those people that, and you could think whatever you want on this, but Martial used to get a lot of shit because the guy never smiled. But I always thought that was kind of ridiculous, because it was like, does he have to smile? Does he have to smile? Does that mean that he is a horrible person? Maybe it's just this is how he is, but that doesn't mean that, he's a problem necessarily, just because he doesn't smile when the camera's around, just because he doesn't do, like, commercialism and he does ads and stuff like that. But it could be an indication that he has a poor attitude as well. But it's difficult to judge somebody's character when you don't actually deal with them on a day-to-day basis, and you don't know, how they react in certain situations, and you don't know the full story of what's actually going on behind the scenes. So it is always tricky to try and navigate this. Yeah, me compared to Richard, yeah. The age difference. Lion saying he's taking a page out of Ray's book, and going with optimistic way. I think they'll turn up. Well, I hope they do. For us, and for the club, and for Erik Ten Hag's sake, I hope they do. And we'll get our answer. We'll get our answer on Thursday. Tomorrow we're gonna do a preview for the Porto match. I believe Erik Ten Hag should have a press conference coming out as well, so we'll cover that as well. Quotes and stuff like that. I'm sure there's going to be probably some stupid questions, but there might be a couple interesting questions and some interesting quotes to come out of that. So yeah, we're going to do that. And Ray said, I think a couple days ago, Erik, you said that the players are too restricted. I think that's Erik Ten Hag's problem. And yeah, I did say that, and that came from Lyle or Axe, really, because they said that they believed that, you know, they look like they're playing without freedom. And I had that in my head when I was watching the Tottenham match, and I think it was real evident in the Tottenham match that, like, you know, there were other factors. But I think in one of the games you've seen, because we kind of try to play a similar way, right? Like Tottenham controlled the match, they play a high line, and they play attacking intent, and they try to score goals. And I think that's really how we're supposed to be playing. We're just not doing it very well. And I think part of the reason is that, and that alludes to what Benny McCarthy was saying, is that tactically Erik Ten Hag is very, very smart. He's very, very genius. But I think at some point it might be a little bit too much. Like, I don't want to label him because he has been labeled like this from the media and outsiders, but it almost might be a little bit too robotic. I mean, when those statements came out, I was very much against them. But, you know, if Benny, somebody that's working alongside of him, is saying that as well, that's how it really comes off with me. Like, it's almost like you're playing, and many of us do it, we play Football Manager, and Football Manager is it's not real life, it's very robotic, it's a simulation game. You give the players instructions, you have a role, and you play that formation. And if you find a tactic that is like game breaking, you just constantly play that tactic and that formation. You never change it because it just breaks the game system, and you almost never lose. And I see it almost in a similar way where, like, Erik Ten Hag just continues to play this thing and doesn't really adjust it too much. And it is, and I think it is restricting because I don't think the players, one, are able to do it, or they're not understanding it, and therefore they are failing in it, and then therefore he is also failing in it because the whole thing is just not working. And he needs, I see. The thing I've come to the conclusion of is I question his adaptability due to his stubbornness. I think, you know, as a manager, you need to have a high level of adaptability. You know, Football Manager, there's a stat that says adaptability when you try to get somebody in a coaching staff position or something, and adaptability is a very important trait when you're going to get top coaches, whether it's a manager or part of the staff. And I think that applies to real life. Now, I understand that's a video game, but still, I think it applies to real life. Like, you have to have a high level of adaptability. And I think that's one of the areas that's Ten Hag's weakness, is that he doesn't have a high adaptability because he's very, very stubborn. And he tries to, and I used this the other day in saying that instead of sometimes going around the problem and making it easier for himself and for everybody else, he chooses the most difficult and hardest path to try and go through the problem. And you don't always have to go through the problem. Sometimes you have no choice. But sometimes you do have a choice. And why would you want to put yourself through the problem and do all that struggling when you can easily go around the problem and address the problem directly without all that struggle and extra hard work that really is for no reason? So yeah, I think you know, I do think that is definitely a problem. And again, you know, it's not just Ten Hag, and it's not just the players. This is a dynamic issue between both of them. They both have problems on both sides, and that's why we are seeing failure. And that's why things are not working. Lion saying there is nothing good coming from United nowadays, so I have an idea. Erik. Ray saying we lost. Bad game, but think about the next two games and everything changed. This team can do that. They can do it. I don't believe that they will do it, but they have an opportunity to prove me and everybody else that feels like me wrong. And they can prove people like Ray right. and Lyle isn't here. So Lyle, good for you to join us. We're a little bit at the end of the show, but we got into a lot of interesting stuff. There's been comments by Benny McCarthy on Erik Ten Hag. There was stuff that came out today about Ruud van Nistelrooy possibly taking over as interim again. There has been player leaks as well, Lyle. More player leaks. The biggest one coming from Andy Mitten, who right here after the FA Cup. So he held on to this information. Why he held on to this information, I don't know. I would love to know. Which only makes me more... it just makes me... I did say at one time, at one point, that, a lot of the media, they have information. And they really do hold on to certain information, and they wait for the timing to put shit out. And this is a perfect example because, this is from May. He knew about this in May. But we're hearing about it October 1st. So, what else do they know? Or what else have they been told from players or player agents or people that are close to the players that they haven't put out that they're holding on to for certain circumstances? It just shows you the ugly side and how snakish the media can really be. Because I feel like you get this. And at that time, when Erik Ten Hag was under pressure and we were uncertain about his job, I feel like he could have put that out at this time anyway, and he didn't. So, it's just very, 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 very strange that we're getting this now. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily surprise me because there's a lot of, bad publicity going on. Lines is saying, what about you grab an old game from YouTube, from the good old days and stream it and do a watch along, and we could talk about how wonderful it used to be to get Mr. Hawkins to tell some old stories. Yeah, we might be able to do that. I don't know what the restrictions are on that though, because of copyright and all that. I don't know. I would have to look into that, but it's not a bad idea. We could do that one day. But I got to look into that because there's all sorts of copyright stuff. I was looking into when Erik Ten Hag does the press conferences. I want to get clips of him doing it and then kind of react to it in real time instead of reading it, so we can hear in the tone and manner that he actually says it instead of me reading it off because I'm reading it and it's his words. But that's also a little bit tricky because I don't have the right to necessarily use that, and I don't want to get like a copyright strike against the channel. But I am looking into stuff like that to implement into the shows, so we might be able to do something like that in the near future. 100%. Lyle saying I am extremely late. Nah, it's all right. You got other things. You got your own life. Apologies. Water issues in the area. Oh shit. Burst pipe. So went running after water tankers. Oh man. Well, I hope everything's all right, Lyle. And I hope it's sorted out and it's not too serious. And Daniel, my buddy Daniel Kassar, is in here. What's up, Daniel? How you doing? I hope everything's good. It's late. It's late in Malta over there. It's 10 right now. What are you up to? What are you doing? We're just talking about, United and the turmoil we're in. As an outsider, I guess, because you're not a United fan, you got any opinion that you want to give on what you see or feel about Manchester United? You could put it in there as well. Because I always like that as well. Sometimes as United fans we do get too stuck too deep into the pile of shit that we're in, and maybe a perspective from somebody that's not an actual Manchester United fan could help as well. Richard coming here saying, well, if Andy held on to that, there is a reason, and Andy is not the media, he is a fan like ourselves, right? And that's why he is well respected and always does what is best for the club. He publishes United We Stand and has done it for 35 years. And Yeah, thank you for that specific information, because I did know that, he has been doing, the fanzine and stuff like that for a very long time. And, I was aware that, he is very, very well respected. So I'm not saying he's like, a Samuel Luckhurst or, one of these other snakes that do it for clicks and stuff. He does have a strong affiliation with the club, and he is, a much more respected journalist in that area. And he's been with Manchester United for a long time. So, it's a good point by Richard, and maybe that's why he didn't put it out. And maybe that's why, he put it out now. But it just, I don't know. It still bothers me though. It does bother me. Lion saying that's where the leaks are coming from Lyle. So yeah. So but I'm just gonna check to make sure that we didn't get any last second updates. Andy Mitten. No, that's recycled. I mean, some of these accounts that pretend to be aggregators, they're very, very late on the news. They got to step their game up, man. I mean, that came out about 8 hours ago or so. And you're posting it now. Slow sports news. Yeah, for sure. You got to get with the times. Now I did react to one or two things yesterday after the show that came out after the show. So if I could get into my account, because I don't know what's going on here, but let's see, because there was one or two things that we didn't get to cover, because every time we log off, there's something comes out, which just pisses me off. But yeah, I just really believe that, some of the things that came out yesterday, it is, and I did say yesterday that it is kind of PR from the player perspective, because it just gives off this vibe of like, like they are doing this like almost like, in like a sarcastic type of way, like, the sentiment that's coming out of this information, it's almost like, they're gonna be like, and I'm mocking them a little bit, but they're going to be like, oh no, I'm devastated. I'm absolutely gutted. We tried everything. We played our best football. We followed all the tactics. It's just a shame it couldn't work out with the gaffer. It's such a shock. Really didn't see this coming at all. I guess when you've done all you can, but the results just don't show it, change is inevitable, right? I mean, I'm definitely not relieved or anything. Definitely didn't want a fresh start or anything like that. Nope, not at all. Guess we'll just have to soldier on without him. What a pity, truly. Anyway, what's the plan with the new manager again? And that was like my little sarcastic take on like, what some of the players are going to be like if he does end up getting sacked, because it just seems like that's what's coming out. And we had a little bit of a slighter update. We did mention this already, but there's just another sentence tagged onto it. But from the Muppeteers again, they are saying now that there are 3 potential long-term candidates for Manchester United. So this seems to be a lot more solid now. Kieran McKenna, Xabi Alonso, and Ruben Amorim. The added information that wasn't there before said that Ineos will also assess managers like Simeone Inzaghi, Sebastian Honeb, and Andoni Iraola, which I actually have no clue who the last guy is. Who the hell is that? Never heard of him. Who is that? He is the manager. He is a Spanish. Oh, that is the manager of Bournemouth. I didn't know his name. I didn't bother to know his name, but all right. The manager of Bournemouth is in contention, apparently, which, I mean, I'm not too excited about that. I don't think he really has the CV for Manchester United. Sebastian Honeb, I mean, he's better than that, but German manager of Stuttgart, which I think that they're doing all right. Not bad over there. But obviously those top three candidates that we talked about before, McKenna, Alonso, and Ruben Amorim. Obviously Alonso being the best. I think Ruben would be second and McKenna would be third. But those are probably the top three. Out of all the people that have been linked, I think those would probably be the top three anyway, if you were going to make like a top five. So yeah, 100%. Daniel is saying, because I missed part of the chat. God, I love our Benny. Daniel saying, what I think one of United's problems is definitely the communication and relationships among themselves and the coach. It doesn't seem that they agree with Ten Hag's strategies, and it's hurting the team. Obviously, as an outsider, I'm not as updated as you guys are, so sorry if I am wrong, lads. No, I think, the fact that you say that, Daniel, because that's what we're saying. We've been saying that. So, if you can see it and you're, as you say, you're not updated as much as us, I think then that kind of means that it's a lot more obvious than we actually might believe that it is, because we've been saying that as well. And a lot of our fans have been saying that. So, you're always welcome to give your opinion, Daniel. You know that. And, even if you're wrong or, we don't agree with it, doesn't mean anything by it. We want to hear it anyway. Again, where is Thomas Frank? I don't want Lion. Why do you want Thomas Frank? I don't want Thomas Frank. I don't like him. I don't like him. I don't want him. I don't want him. I don't think there is malice. I think Erik Ten Hag is like the school teacher who tells you this is how you do this sum and expects you to do it. Yeah, I think that's a good analogy as well. Richard, it's like, it basically goes to what Benny was saying. Like, he gives you all the information, but there's no real push from his end to really make sure that you're getting it right. He just gives you the information and expects you to get it right. And I think that is a problem. And that kind of goes into what Daniel, said. And what we were kind of talking about is that just like, there's a lack of like understanding and communication in the relationships between the coach and the players, which is problematic. And I think that's why many, and I'm sure there's a lot of Ten Hag outers that have been saying this, and maybe they've been right the whole time on that aspect. And I think that's something very negative. You can't really have that. If you're going to be the manager of Manchester United, you can't have that. You're not going to succeed in that way. So 100%. And his stubbornness can probably be taken the wrong way. As well, so again, it's not all his fault. But at the end of the day, the sentiment is we are a club. This is a team sport. Football is a team sport, and there's failures from the manager, there's failures from the players. So both have to accept responsibility. Unfortunately, only one of them is more than likely to lose their job or lose their spot, and that is Erik Ten Hag. So Lucky believes it's the ownership, and he wants new people. 11 men. He wants new people. So yeah. Ray said, guys, you have to be a sailor in a rough sea after the storm. We're going to have nice weather. Well, I hope you're right. But listen, we're going to end the show because it's gone on long enough. Very good show today. Very good discussions. We'll be back live tomorrow. We're going to do the preview for Porto and the build up to that. And I expect, the press conference and stuff like that. So we'll go over that and any other news that comes out. So very good show. Anybody that didn't smash the like button, and we got 11 likes. So That's very good. Please smash the like button for me. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and join the community. We always have wonderful discussions, and yeah, just very, very happy today. A lot better. I feel a little bit more calm. I feel a little bit more relieved because I guess we're getting close to finding out, what's actually going to happen. Which I just want to see the performance on the pitch. So, while there is all this speculation and still very negative news going on around Manchester United, I'm getting a little bit more, I don't want to say anxious, but just I'm getting a little bit more built up because I think, we'll get our answers. And that's really what I want. I just want the answers. I want the closure. And I just want to know what it's actually going to be. So when we go into that Porto match, we will get our answers, and we will get, we will get the conclusion to all the speculation going on and going around. So everybody stay safe, be good, take care of yourselves, enjoy the rest of your nights, evenings, or mornings, wherever you are, wherever you're watching. Thank you as always. Thank you for smashing the like button. Thank you for carrying the show and getting involved. Without you guys, I don't got a show to do. It would be very, very boring. And I would be very, very bored as well. So, yeah, thank you guys. Cheers to all of you, and, all of you that are always in here as well. And to the other ones that are new, that come in and say a couple things, we appreciate you guys as well. So, we will catch you tomorrow, anywhere from the time we started today. So it would be 7:30-ish UK time to 9 p.m. UK time. I will schedule it ahead of time. So, if you have the notifications on, you'll get alerted and stuff like that. And, I will schedule it at least an hour before. I just haven't decided exactly when. But you've got chat, but no more video. Yeah, I don't know what happened. But don't worry about it. I didn't end it yet, but it's over anyway. So we'll see you all later. Have a good night. Be good, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate you. Love you guys. Take care.